Locarno in the year 1522, Isaiah 40:22. He is seated on the circle of the earth, the Bible said thousands of years before. The Greek Gallenus discovered 200 years after Christ that the heart is the engine of the body, the pump that waters the blood throughout everything, the body. Keep your heart above all else, for from it comes life. Proverbs 4:23. A person who reads the Bible has correct spelling and wording. He knows and understands better the use of propositions, prepositions, conjunctions and grammatical rules. When we read clearly and put the meaning, the application for our times, what we are experiencing every day, our children will be able to see it as a book of wisdom, as the book above all books. Precisely when I was reading the book of Nehemiah, I was amazed when I found in it all the techniques for project management that I learned at university and later in postgraduate courses. The entire process is captured and put into practice with tremendous results. In project management activities, it begins with 1. Analysis and design of objectives v. 1:3-11. This activity is crucial for the success of the project, because the way it is initiated and defined the same. The final results will depend. If we are clear about where we are going, it is easier to get there. Nehemiah received the information of what was happening in Jerusalem. The wall of Jerusalem was demolished and the people who remained are in great evil and disgrace. Likewise, if in any of the things we have talked about we are not acting correctly before God, it means that the walls, the fence for our children, are not firm or in ruins like that of Jerusalem was. Seeing the situation, Nehemiah cried, mourned, fasted and prayed before God. He presented the objective of the project to the CEO, Chief Executive Officer. Faced with the pain that our children are not kept under the shadow of the Almighty, it is imperative that we fast, that we groan and pray for them before the King of Kings, remembering his promises that are for us and our children, that even if we were dispersed to the end of the heavens, from there he would pick us up. 2. Acquisition of resources v. 2:4-8. A project must have the approval of management to authorize the use of resources, both economic and human. Nehemiah, after knowing that he had God's approval, went before the area manager, even risking his life. The king gave him letters so that the forest guard would give him wood, and with this he sent him with army captains and horsemen. God will always support and provide the resources we need, when we even risk our own lives for the salvation of our children. 3. Planning of work in accordance with the objectives v. 2:17-18. If in our project we do not have the enthusiasm and good disposition of those who are going to collaborate in it, we will not be successful. Nehemiah sought collaboration among those who were suffering from the same thing, and used the motivation method called empowerment, making them see the need and declaring to them that he had received divine and king support. They received the vision and committed to it, saying, "Let us arise and build." And they strengthened their hands for good. In the same way, let us look for people who have the same feelings as us to support our project of saving our children. We can have those who pray for them, those who keep an eye on them, those who watch over them during our absence. 4. Organization of work and assignment of tasks. Chap. 3. Nehemiah's assigned the jobs, getting everyone involved in the part of the project that somehow interested them in a particular way, by family, occupation, territory, etc. We were always told in classes, do not put a carpenter to do secretarial work, or a mechanic to do work that involves delicacy and neatness. Let's not delegate the responsibility of educating our children to people who are not going to teach them correctly. 5. Risk control v. 4:14-17. In every project, a so-called contingency plan must be created for any eventuality that may arise that may oppose its completion. This project of Nehemiah found some who opposed it. Sanballat called them weak, questioned the success of the project, and tried to sow discouragement in the people, but Nehemiah stood up and brought a word of encouragement. Then I looked, and I stood up and said to the nobles and the officials, and to the rest of the people, do not fear before them. Remember the Lord, great and fearsome, and fight for your brothers, for your sons and for your daughters, for your wives and for your houses. And when our enemies heard that we had understood it, and that God had defeated their counsel, we all returned to the wall, each one to his task. From that day on, half of my servants worked on the work, and the other half had spears, shields, bows, and breastplates, and behind them were the leaders of the whole house of Judah. Those who built on the wall, those who carried, and those who carried, with one hand. They worked at the work, and in the other they had the sword. 6. Execution control, activity management, monitoring and progress reporting. Chap. 5-6. During this part of the project, whoever directs it has to ensure that people are working in accordance with what is stipulated, and that they are motivated. Part of the people felt discouraged, they had no motivation to continue working because they had given their children as slaves, and seized their houses and land because of the debts incurred to be able to eat and live. Nehemiah served as mediator so that these debts were forgiven. 172. Including the return of the interest that was demanded. This was done in prayer before God, to which all the people responded, love and praise Jehovah. We have, in a certain way, given our children and homes to slavery, supposedly wanting to give them the best, to have what we did not have, and for that we work hours and hours neglecting the time that we must dedicate to them so that they can see the latest fashion, that they are at the level of their peers, that they do not feel at least, etc. In reality what we are doing is creating complexes for them. I heard in a commercial that 7 out of 10 people in this country are in debt, and it seemed horrifying to me. Let us teach our children that the value of a person is not in the clothes they wear, in the external, that better is a dry morsel, and in peace, than a house of strife full of provisions. Prov. 17. 1. This type of commitment will bring back the adversaries, as with Nehemiah, who was told, their hands will be weakened in the work, and it will not be finished. Say now like Nehemiah, O God, strengthen my hands. 7. Closing the project v. 6. 15–16. The objective of the project must be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time-terminated. Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, defined in time. In addition, it is important that other people can see the results, and the wall was finished, then, on the 25th of the month of Elul, in 52 days. And when all our enemies heard it, all the nations that were around us feared, and were humbled, and knew that this work had been done by our God. 8. Final communication with shareholders and/or general management. Ch.